Hey wrestling fans, welcome back to the channel. Today we're diving deep into one of the most iconic and twisted storylines in WWE history. The dark, tragic tale of The Undertaker, Kane, and the fire that changed their lives forever. If you've ever wondered why The Undertaker, the dead man himself, was said to have killed his parents and burned his brother Kane's face, stick around, because this is a wild ride through WWE's kayfabe universe. This storyline is packed with betrayal, supernatural elements, and family drama that captivated fans for over 2 decades. Let's break it down. The story begins in the mid-1990s when The Undertaker was already a towering figure in the WWF, a mysterious supernatural force managed by the creepy Paul Bearer. The Undertaker, with his gothic funeral parlor aesthetic, was portrayed as a man tied to death and darkness. But in 1997, the WWF took his backstory to a whole new level. Paul Bearer, who had been The Undertaker's manager for years, turned on him and dropped a bombshell that shocked the wrestling world. He revealed that The Undertaker had a younger brother named Kane, who was presumed dead after a horrific fire at their family's funeral home. According to Bearer, when The Undertaker was a teenager, he deliberately set fire to the funeral home, killing their parents and leaving Kane horribly burned and scarred. This revelation came during Kane's debut storyline in 1997, setting the stage for one of the most dramatic feuds in wrestling history. But why would The Undertaker do something so heinous? The kayfabe answer lies in a mix of dark family secrets, psychological torment, and the supernatural elements that defined his character. Let's go back to the kayfabe origins of this story. In the WWE universe, The Undertaker and Kane grew up in a funeral home, a creepy setting that perfectly suited their eerie personas. According to Paul Bearer, The Undertaker, as a young man, harbored a deep resentment or darkness within him. On May 19, 1977, as the story goes, The Undertaker set fire to the funeral home, an act that engulfed the building in flames, killing his mother and father. Kane, his younger brother, was also caught in the blaze and was believed to have perished, suffering severe burns that left his face scarred, or so the story initially claimed. Paul Bearer, who worked at the funeral home and had a close relationship with the family, discovered Kane alive but traumatized and kept him hidden for years, nursing him back to health while fueling his rage against The Undertaker. This fire wasn't just an accident, it was portrayed as a deliberate act by The Undertaker, though the exact reasons for his actions were shrouded in mystery, adding to his enigmatic character. Was it jealousy, anger, or something more sinister? The storyline left it ambiguous, letting fans fill in the gaps with their imaginations. The motivation behind The Undertaker's actions wasn't fully explained until later in the storyline, particularly during a pivotal moment on WWF Raw is War on October 19, 1998. In a dramatic confrontation, The Undertaker admitted to starting the fire that killed his parents and burned Kane. This confession came after months of Paul Bearer taunting him, accusing him of hiding the truth. The Undertaker's admission painted him as a tragic, almost villainous figure consumed by guilt over his past. The kayfabe narrative suggested that The Undertaker's act was intentional, possibly driven by a desire to escape the oppressive environment of the funeral home or a darker impulse tied to his supernatural persona. The Undertaker's actions seem less like cold-blooded murder and more like a desperate act from a troubled youth, though the storyline never fully absolved him of his guilt. Kane's debut in 1997 at Bad Blood in Your House was a game-changer. Introduced as The Undertaker's long-lost brother, Kane burst onto the scene as a masked, monstrous figure hell-bent on revenge. Paul Bearer's betrayal of The Undertaker set the stage for Kane's arrival, as Bearer revealed he had been grooming Kane to confront his brother. Kane's scarred face, initially portrayed as physically disfigured, but later revealed to be psychological scars, became a symbol of the trauma The Undertaker inflicted. The storyline leaned heavily into the idea that Kane's burns were a direct result of The Undertaker's actions, and Kane's rage fueled his desire to destroy his brother. Their first major encounter at WrestleMania 14 in 1998 was a brutal clash, with Kane seeking retribution and The Undertaker grappling with his own guilt and denial. This sibling rivalry wasn't just about physical dominance, it was a deeply personal story of betrayal, loss, and redemption. As the storyline evolved, WWE added more layers to the narrative. In 1998, it was revealed that Kane's scars were not as physical as initially believed. The burns were largely psychological, a result of the trauma he endured, which explained why Kane wore a mask for years. This twist added depth to the story, suggesting that Kane's pain was as much emotional as it was physical, and it made The Undertaker's actions even more complex. Was he a monster who tried to kill his family, or a misguided youth who made a terrible mistake? The ambiguity kept fans hooked as WWE masterfully blended supernatural elements with family drama. Over the years, The Undertaker and Kane's relationship oscillated between rivalry and alliance, forming the Brothers of Destruction in 2001, only to feud again later. Their story was revisited multiple times, with moments like Kane and Paul Bearer desecrating their parents' gravesite in 1998, further emphasizing the deep wounds in their family history. The Undertaker's motivations in kayfabe were never fully pinned down, which is part of what made the storyline so compelling. Some sources suggest he burned the funeral home to escape a dysfunctional family environment, while others hint at a darker, almost demonic impulse tied to his supernatural character. Paul Bearer's role as a manipulator added another layer, as he often twisted the narrative to pit the brothers against each other. For example, Bearer's accusations in 1997 framed The Undertaker as a murderer, but later storylines suggested Kane's own actions, like his obsession with fire, might have contributed to the tragedy. This back and forth kept the storyline fresh, allowing WWE to revisit it over 2 decades, from their epic battles in the late 90s to their final team-ups in the 2000s and 10s. The Undertaker's guilt and Kane's quest for vengeance became the emotional core of their saga, making it one of the most memorable in WWE history. Why did this storyline resonate so much? Because it was more than just a wrestling feud. It was a gothic soap opera. The Undertaker and Kane weren't just fighters, they were tragic figures bound by blood and betrayal. The fire that killed their parents and scarred Kane was the catalyst for a story that explored themes of guilt, redemption, and family ties. The Undertaker's dark persona was enriched by this backstory, making him more than just a spooky gimmick. He was a man haunted by his past. Kane, meanwhile, became a sympathetic monster, driven by pain and betrayal. Their battles, from Hell in a Cell to WrestleMania, were epic because they carried the weight of this twisted family history. Even when the storyline got convoluted, like when Kane was unmasked in 2003 or when The Undertaker briefly turned heel to align with Bearer, it never lost its emotional pull. So, why did The Undertaker kill his parents and burn Kane's face? In kayfabe, it was a mix of youthful rage, family dysfunction, and perhaps a touch of supernatural darkness. The fire was no accident. It was a deliberate act that The Undertaker confessed to, though the exact reasons remain murky, fueling speculation and drama. Whether it was to escape his past, lash out at his family, or something more sinister, the act set off a chain of events that defined both his and Kane's careers. This storyline gave us iconic moments, unforgettable matches, and a legacy that still looms large in WWE. What do you think, wrestling fans? Was The Undertaker a villain in this story, or a tragic figure? Drop your thoughts in the comments, hit that like button, and subscribe for more deep dives into WWE's greatest stories. Until next time, keep watching The Ring.